The orbital coliseum over Viwear's red moon was a ring of knives against the stars. Under the glow of 1,000 banners, the sand of the arena drank in the roar of every throat in the sector. When the gates opened for the championship bout, she stepped out first. Thesivor, the Thorn-Queen, draped in lacquered carapace and humming with the low thunder of her living armor. She raised her spear and pointed its tip to the sky. "This arena is mine," she announced. Her voice multiplied by the arena's crystalline amplifiers until it became storm and tide. "This sand belongs to my name." The crowd answered with a wave of sound. Bookmakers flashed odds across holoscreens. Slavers rattled chains at the pit edge, reminders of debts that had sent many lesser fighters here to disappear beneath the roar. When the opposite gate rose, a human stepped into the light. Jace Arden looked unremarkable beside Thessa's blade-bright grandeur, lean, wrapped in a threadbare coat, carrying a straight wooden staff burned black at one end as if it had been rescued from a fire. The only gleam on him was the thin silver band that circled his right wrist, the bonded marker of a crew indenture. On the band's face, a single number ticked down toward 0. He walked slowly to the center and planted the staff in the sand. He touched 2 fingers to the band and then to his chest. Somewhere high up, a handful of humans, dockhands and miners, stood and lifted their fists. The arena noticed. The roar bent curious. "Declare," the arbiter sang, its jeweled mask reflecting both fighters. Thessa dragged the butt of her spear in a circle, scoring the sand. "I am Thessa Viwear. I accept challenge." Jace's mouth was a thin line. "Jace Arden. I fight for my crew." He did not say what everyone knew. Win, and the arena's purse would pay the debt. Lose, and the slavers would take the rest of the crew who had gambled everything on him. They faced each other as the lights lowered to a hot midnight, the stars a cold crown above. Thessa's armor vibrated with a resonance that sent ripples through the sand. Her people sang to hunt. Her armor sang to kill. Each note was a knife-edged tune to a frequency that could empty a heart of courage. Jace remembered the monastery chamber on Terralise, silent but for the breath of wind through broken shutters, and the voice of the old master who had taught him to listen. Not just to sound, to structure, to pattern, to the way a body's motor whispered before it moved. "One strike that carries your whole truth," the master had said. 1,000 cuts are a kind of fear. One strike is a promise kept. The gong rang. Sparks curled up the metal ribs of the arena. Thessa didn't move so much as unfurl, every joint telescoping, spear arching, her first step part dance, part threat. She circled with patient hunger. The shaders of her visor mapped Jace's height, reach, heartbeat. She fed those numbers to her armor's biocircuitry. The hum deepened, tasting for fear. Jace heard the hum and beneath it, a second tone. Faint. Out of phase. He slid 1 foot back through the sand and let the spearhead miss his face by an inch. The crowd hissed at his audacity. He didn't counterstrike. He only moved, making small circles with the iron-black end of his staff, drawing lines in the grit like a man thinking with his hands. Thessa struck again, then again, blows fast enough to shear air from air. Jace gave ground, each retreat angled, measured. The hum grew stronger as she tasted bloodless dominance, her carapace blooming with violet veins of light. When she spoke, her voice carried that deepening power. "You are not built for this, human." Jace smiled without showing teeth. "Not the way you are." She laughed, a thunderclap, and drove him to the circle's rim. The slavers thumped the fence with truncheons. The arbiter's lights pulsed red to warn a boundary breach. Thessa fainted low and snapped high, the spear's edge a crescent moon that would have sheared a lesser opponent in half. Jace let the blade whisper past his throat. The hum peaked. There, caught within it, he heard the flaw he had been hunting. A flutter in the second tone, a thin tremor when the armor hit its own resonance limit. The Thorn-Queen's song had a breaking point. Every system did. He stepped forward. It looked like recklessness. It looked like a mistake. He looked small rushing into that storm of motion. But Thessa's eyes flashed surprised silver because prey didn't close distance, and her spear was already in the swing. Jace's staff dropped, not to parry, not to block. He struck the sand. The iron-black end hit the arena floor with a sound too dull to be a showman's blow. It was the sound of calibration, of man and metal and math finding one common word. The impact sent a short, vicious shudder through the sand, through the hidden plates beneath it, through the cage of resonant crystals that fed Thessa's armor its killing song. The second tone faltered, then inverted. For the smallest instant, Thessa's carapace sang against itself. The living armor recoiled as if struck by its own echo. The sensory fields went blind. The spear's sweep wavered, a fraction only, but a fraction measured at the center of a storm is larger than a life. Jace stepped into that fraction and raised the staff a single hand's breadth, turning his body like a door on a well-oiled hinge. He struck once. The tip tapped the triangular node at the base of Thessa's collar, the one piece of her armor that had to remain permeable to translate her song into force. The strike was not muscle, it was timing. Not a contest of strength, but of listening. The hum tore itself in half. Thessa's knees hit the sand. The arena did not roar. It inhaled. It was the longest silence Jace had ever heard, the kind that measures a life from before to after. In that silence, he could hear his crew breathing in the highest row. He could hear his own heart. Thessa looked up, visor gone dark, eyes bare and furious and, finally, astonished. Jace had the staff at her throat. He could have pressed. He could have ended the legend in blood. He withdrew the staff and offered the crook of his elbow like a dance partner. "Rise, Thorn-Queen." Slowly she took the offered arm. Sand dripped from her gauntlets. "What did you strike?" she asked softly, the arena's amplifiers carrying the intimacy to the worst seats. "The only note that was lying," Jace said. The Arbiter's jewels flashed white. "Victory, Jace Arden. By one strike." The arena found its voice again, half disbelief, half a sudden, ravenous new kind of love. The odds feeds crashed. The slavers' smiles curdled. The number on Jace's wristband ticked to 0. He looked up to his crew. They were crying, laughing, hugging strangers. He looked back to Thessa, who was studying him as if he'd arrived speaking a language she had always wanted to learn. "This place is yours now," she said at last, as custom demanded of a dethroned champion. "What will you take from it?" Jace turned to the cages at the rim. The captives clutched bars with white knuckles, hope and hurt written in their faces. He lifted his staff, not as weapon but as gavel. "No more chains," he said. "No more blood debt. If the arena must sing, let it be for skill, not hunger." There was a murmur, then a tide. It swept even the gamblers, even the thugs unsure how to spend the night if not on suffering. Thessa's mouth tilted. She nodded like someone acknowledging a point beautifully made.